See a large number of doves and birds having a good time on my grass seed. I'm Justin Hitt from Prosperity Homestead. I had the opportunity to get over here after a another storm, dumped a lot of water on here. And you can see this water just came down like 20-30 minutes ago. And so this is a comparison to the video I published a little bit earlier at the house, that when the rain was coming down and filling the detention basins, and just a storm raging here in June 20th or June 19th. I'm sorry, it's Juneteenth right today. June 19th, just major storm hitting. Now what we're seeing here, again, it's going to continue to slump. So I'm not going to stand on the edge here, because this soil is going to come down. It's going to continue to slump down there. That's what we know, that's going to happen. But what I absolutely must do, because we can see the grass coming up, that green coloration, absolutely must do, is get out here and drop more seed and then straw. You can see the dramatic difference between what straw does when it comes to kind of breaking down the force of that rain. Some more pigeons. I'm going to set up a pigeon dovecot out here. Beautiful pigeons. Okay, so you can see how the rain just pounds that soil and breaks it all up, and the soil absorbs that moisture, where ground that has the wood chip on it, the water is spread out, it soaks in, versus the clay that's compacted, where the water settles in low spots and then slowly seeps into the ground. You can see coloration, and it's starting to rain again here. You can see the coloration in the ground where there's saturation of water, but where there's the straw, there's again more time for the grass to take hold. And I want to walk up through here just for safety purposes rather than on the edge. You can see in the forest how the trees above us will buffer that water before it hits the ground. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because it's very important to understand hydrology cycles and the water's interaction on the land. So water, when it flows downhill, it is going to pool, it's going to channel, it's going to connect and build up energy as it's moving downhill. That gravity transfers into an energy in the momentum of the water. Oh my gosh, got to get through here to get on the other side. So the momentum of the water brings soil along with it, and that soil then pools in low spots, and sometimes it dams up. So if you have a brush dam or some kind of silt trap, you can trap the silt soil in. And I get on through here. Okay, I'll show you the silt trap here. See on the back there, that's a silt trap. That silt trap is going to catch a lot of that soil. And you're not here and you can't smell this, but somebody down the road is burning a pile of wood chips. Burning on your property, we made a commitment to be a no-burn site. Okay, because burning on your property just turns the wood into pollution, basically. So instead of burning, we stack all of our brush up here. Now it's not all nice and neat, and create a silt fence. And it's going to include the stumps and the roots and everything. And then over time, that'll break down. But when we have a heavy rain event and that water's flowing down the hill here, and it's sheeting. Sheeting is where you see these like layers. You see the sheeting right here, where that water is moving across that surface because we got 2 inches of rain in 30 minutes. 2 inches of rain in 30 minutes. But all that's flowing down here, it has the tendency to take off the loose soil on top and leave behind all this harder ground. So you can see that's harder ground. But when it comes up here to our little buffer, it settles and doesn't go any further into the woods. So we're keeping all of our soil as close to its original point as possible. We're taking that soil and we're embanking it, and now we can always shovel it back up. Okay, right here, this is another example where the water has come down the hill. It brought all the little pieces of soil. Now that's going to be hard to grow grass on that hard ground, because all the topsoil has come down here and pooled up. It's all come with the water, so we got to be careful about that. Now I'm going to see if I can walk around this corner, because we're going to look at the back side of this slope, because we can have a similar effect. Okay, well, let me show you real quick here. See how that wet spot here? This is water that is soaked into the ground, permeated into the ground. Let me walk around this way. All right, so now we're looking at the back of this. And in a previous video, I told you there was a risk of water channeling about that section right there. And it kind of has. I see exposed rocks. I see movement in the straw. There's an exposed rock right there. And so how do we fix that? Again, we build the bund up. I see the grass washed over and pointing down. So that's the water coming down here. It's not too bad. Now we're moving along to the wet spot. And I'm showing you all the detail here because it's important you recognize these patterns. Okay, so here's something that we didn't catch. Just like the slumping that happening on the hill over there, there was some slumping right here. So this needs to be repaired. And the reason it's slumping is because right there looks like there's a stump or a big rock. Okay, so remember what we said before. The rain is going to come down. It's going to go around the rocks. So it'll concentrate on the rock and it'll go around the rocks and cause soil movement, because the soil separates and will float with the water. So I can see a little area there. So how do we fix this up? Well, we come down here and we get these big chunks of clay when it's dried out a little bit, and we start packing them in there. And then we build a bund up over the top so the water doesn't come over. If possible, we dig out that stump. And actually I have to see, I should be able to dig that stump out. So we dig that stump out, we replace it with clay. And again, we don't want to use rocks. That's a rock right there. That's a rock right there. Those rocks get put in a pile on the bottom. And then we focus on clay and fill that back in, get it packed in nice and tight. Now, what do we got here? We have that, again, that glistening, shiny change in surface where there's water saturation. So way up there, water soaked into the ground, and now it's coming out of the ground down here, which we don't want to spring this close to a retaining wall. So what do we do about that? Well, we can definitely grow some plants on it, especially long-rooted grasses, to soak up that water. We can also shovel up a lot of this dirt from the top edge here to build that slope, and then make sure we just get good solid vegetation, because plants will take up that water and keep it from coming out the bottom. If it's going to spring, we want it to spring way down there somewhere, away from our main sites. Again, you can see the rocks, they're all washed off because the water doesn't permeate the rock. It just pressure washes it, builds up surface tension, pushes away the soil. Let's get around this corner here. Remember I told you before on this particular corner, and the ground is a little soft here, so I'm not going to walk up in it. This area around here had the potential to channel. It stayed moist, but I do believe that moisture was more due to being a shaded area than a design flaw with the water up top. Now you'll also notice that where there used to be a bunch of clay rocks and stuff on here, most of those are gone. Again, that's why we take the something and we batten down those rocks and start breaking them up. But any of that soil down on the bottom here needs to be shoveled up and thrown all the way to the top, where it is then used to make a bund. The bund keeps water on the top surface, and you can see a little bit of settling and a little bit of slumping. See this right here? It's a little bit of settling right there. And so what we do is we build it up, okay? We don't want to trap water on the top of there, but we want the water to move forward, move towards these drain areas over there and up the other side, and then the rocks will evaporate some of that. Now, let's look behind, because again, this was a massive storm. This is June 19th, okay? So we had a heck of a storm come through here. And you see behind here, there's a little bit of slumping from the brush dam and the topsoil, but again, it's topsoil. It's none of this clay. We want clay to stay, okay? It's more rock piles here. There's unlimited supply of rock piles. Be sure you sign up for the natural building course. We're going to have an instructor come out and possibly use up some of these rock piles. There's another site that's putting together some materials to do foundations. If you're interested in natural building, this is the place to be. Okay, we're gonna look one more time. Look behind here. There's no silt. There's no runoff. Everything is copacetic. Okay, do you see what we're talking about here? So when we're putting this design together and we're building this massive earthworks, some people were concerned. They're saying, hey, you know, you're not going to be able to put a house there. Well, that wasn't designed for a house. They say, well, you know, the first big rain you get, this is the second big rain. It is the design that makes it work like this. Will it stay like this forever? No, it will not. So remember, I told you there's maintenance that has to be done. See, there's even nuances like this. You may not notice this, but there's a little run here, and then there's a bump. So the excavator guy made a little bump here. Now, who's that guy? Well, he's the guy who's going to teach you in the earthworks course about how to use farm equipment to do agricultural type earthworks, including increasing your terrace area so that you can have more growing space. Cases like this where we're going to put up a container barn. And then one of the things that I've talked about in the past is that maintenance, because if we don't come along here and smash up these clay, now the reason we're smashing up the clay is to find the rocks, okay? Like there's a big old rock up there that needs to come out, okay? But we're gonna mash this clay up, we're gonna take the rocks out, then we're gonna reseed it again. We're gonna stylize that bund to make sure it's nice and secure and that top edge is level. We're going to take these clumps and these rocks and stuff here. We'll separate out the rocks. We'll put the rocks in a line down the bottom or piles. And we'll put the earth clumps back all the way to the top. And then we'll use what kind of looks like a paddle and kind of beat them in order to kind of compact that soil. And we also have a tamper to put stuff in. And then we get our seed and straw back on here. Okay, because that little slump there would keep getting worse if we don't remediate it. And the remediation, of course, is taking out the rock, taking out the stump, filling it with clay soil, filling it with big chunks like this, and then, of course, getting that grass and straw back on it. You can overseed this 2 or 3 times. It's not going to be a problem. You just have to keep watching it. So every storm event, you come through here, you find stuff like this. Look at that. That's kind of washed out. And so I'm going to pick that up, find out what the hell that is. All right, look at that. It's a big old stump. That stump don't need to be there. And now I left a little hole there. So I take a shovel and I don't throw it in the hole. I throw it above the hole and let it roll down. And then I'll do things like this. Take this rock out of here. Okay, because see that rock is not holding soil. That rock, the water's going to go right around that rock and cause it to fall out. So, do you see what I'm talking about here? It takes some nuances. It doesn't look nice and clean now, but it'll get clean over time. It's starting to rain again. I want to get out of here before it rains too much. And of course, you don't drive down here, and you don't walk in it because it'll get all muddy. So, but it will be a little while with wheelbarrows and stuff. Because I could dig up a lot of this soil here, take it in a wheelbarrow up the hill on a dry day, and just start dumping it down to get that bund nice and straight. Start tamping that stuff in place, get it seeded, get it straw, get it growing, and that's how you get results. Now again, yeah, I could have if I had the cash. A lot of you folks, you got a lot of great answers, but you're not paying the bill. But this could have been hydro seeded. We could have come in with larger equipment and been able to roll this over. We could have excavated a ditch on the back here and then thrown that soil up top. Actually, there is a ditch underneath here that's locking all this compacted material in place. But again, sure, burlap, geotextiles, a lot of that stuff, sure, if you're going to pay for it, we'll get it used. But it's not always necessary if you manage it the right way. If you're willing to come in and do the right design, do the right implementation, and then follow through with your maintenance. And the maintenance is not too bad. It gives you a chance to inspect everything. It doesn't need equipment to be done. But again, it settles the place up. There isn't any transfer of soil. There isn't any soil that left the job site. There isn't anything except maybe these few little silt sumps that are happening here due to the heavy rains. But the rest of it, when you leave that little site, the rest of it is just wood chips. Now, if I get a chance to get a bunch of wood chips, and a lot of people have asked about this before. Those wood chips don't go on the slant, the slopes. The slopes need to be fully grassed. The slopes need to have cover crops, deep-rooted grasses, and then it needs to have kind of a 1 to 3 slope on it. So for every foot it goes up, it goes 3 foot out. And at the worst, it can be 1 to 1, but that slope better be packed down and have vegetation growing on it, have a lot of grass growing on it. Can I plant trees on the hills? It's probably not a good idea. If this was a lot larger hill, yes, but it's not a good idea on a small hill. And then when it comes to this area out here, yes, I could cover this with wood chips. In fact, if our driveway doesn't take grass, I can dump wood chips in it. And the wood chips will help. As long as we're not driving on the mud within 72 hours of a rain event. Okay, because we want our ground to be dry when we're traversing across it. All them big words. Anyway, I'm Justin Hitt with Prosperity Homestead. I hope this has been useful. I went through some of the key things that I'm looking for every time I visit a site after a rain event. And yes, you will have to visit the site after every rain event or have somebody go out and visit it for you. If I was working, I'd have a shovel, but we're going to have a little bit more rain. It's actually raining right now. So after it's done raining, I'll come out here with a shovel. I'll come out here with a mallet, and I will start throwing soil up the hill. I'll bring seed, I'll bring more straw, and we will get this thing rocking and rolling. I hope you'll stay with us through the whole journey. And again, if you have questions, we're here to answer your questions. We want you to be able to do this because you're going to be able to get on the land faster. You're going to be able to start your agriculture or regenerative farming activities. And then ultimately, like the joy I have when I see all the pigeons out here and all the birds coming up in these areas and the butterflies coming up in these areas and the trees turning green, you can have that joy too. Thank you for being a part of what we do here. Again, I'm looking forward to answering your questions. We're out on Rumble, BitChute, YouTube, and a lot of other channels. I can't always keep up with the comments on all these different channels, but if you visit www.prosperityhomestead.org, go to the contact page and ask your questions. I will definitely get back with you, and I'll definitely be able to see that message because that comes directly to my team here. Again, thanks for watching, and we're here to help you turn your homesteading dream into a reality. See you next time.